Have you ever made a decision that seemed perfectly reasonable at the time, only to be met with a chorus of raised eyebrows and concerned whispers? A decision that, in hindsight, makes you question your own judgment? That's precisely the predicament I found myself in when I made the seemingly innocuous choice to leave my 18-year-old son, Jake, home alone for 2 weeks while my husband and I embarked on our long-awaited honeymoon. What I perceived as a simple matter of trusting my adult son's capabilities quickly spiraled into a school-wide controversy with teachers, counselors, and even some neighbors expressing their concerns. Suddenly, I was faced with a daunting question. Had I made a terrible mistake? Had I jeopardized my son's well-being? This story isn't just about a honeymoon and a concerned school. It's about societal perceptions of independence, the delicate balance between fostering responsibility and ensuring safety, and the often conflicting messages we send to young adults on the cusp of adulthood. It's a story that will challenge your assumptions about what it means to be grown up and make you question whether we're truly preparing the next generation for the challenges of independent living. My son Jake was a senior in high school, just a few months shy of graduation. He had recently turned 18, the magic number that legally designates an individual as an adult. He had his driver's license, a part-time job, managed his own finances to some extent, and even helped with household chores. He was, in my eyes, a responsible and capable young man. And my husband and I had been planning our honeymoon for over a year. It was a trip we had postponed several times due to various family commitments, and we were finally ready to escape for a couple of weeks and reconnect. With Jake nearing the end of his high school career, we felt confident that he could manage on his own for that short period. After all, he was legally an adult. He was old enough to vote, join the military, and even be held criminally liable for his actions. So why wouldn't he be capable of staying home alone? We discussed it with Jake, of course. He was enthusiastic about the idea. He saw it as a taste of freedom, a chance to prove his independence. We laid out some ground rules: no parties, keep the house clean, and check in with us regularly. We stocked the refrigerator with food, left him a list of emergency contacts, and even arranged for a neighbor to check in on him occasionally, though Jake insisted he didn't need it. We felt we had covered all the bases. We left for our honeymoon with a sense of excitement and peace of mind. We were confident in Jake's abilities and eager to enjoy our time away. Little did we know that our decision was about to ignite a firestorm of controversy back home. The first phone call came just a few days into our trip. It was Jake's school counselor. She sounded hesitant, her voice laced with concern. She asked how Jake was doing, and I assured her he was fine, that he was managing well at home. Then came the question that made my stomach drop. Who is supervising him? I explained that he was 18, that he was perfectly capable of taking care of himself. The counselor's response was polite but firm. She expressed her concern about leaving an 18-year-old home alone for such an extended period, especially during the school year. She mentioned that the school had a policy regarding student supervision and that they were obligated to ensure his well-being. I was taken aback. I had never considered that our decision would be viewed as anything other than normal. I tried to explain that Jake was responsible, that he had demonstrated his independence in various ways, but the counselor remained unconvinced. She suggested that we reconsider our arrangements and perhaps have a family member or trusted adult stay with him. I hung up the phone feeling confused and slightly irritated. Was this really necessary? Was it really that unusual to leave an 18-year-old home alone? I shared the conversation with my husband, and he was equally perplexed. We both felt that the school was overreacting. But the phone calls didn't stop there. The next day, it was the school principal. He echoed the counselor's concerns, emphasizing the school's responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of all its students. He even hinted that Child Protective Services might need to be involved if we didn't make alternative arrangements. Child Protective Services? For an 18-year-old? The thought was absurd. I felt a surge of anger mixed with disbelief. This was getting out of hand. I tried to reason with the principal, explaining that Jake was not a child, that he was a legal adult, but the principal was unmoved. He reiterated the school's position and urged us to take the matter seriously. By this point, I was starting to feel a gnawing sense of doubt. Had I made a terrible mistake? Was I being irresponsible? The school's reaction had shaken my confidence in my own judgment. I started to question whether I had truly considered all the angles. The phone calls continued. Concerned friends and even a neighbor called to check in on Jake, expressing their worries about him being home alone. The same question kept coming up. Who's taking care of Jake? It was as if everyone had forgotten that he was 18, that he was capable of making his own decisions. The constant questioning and the veiled accusations of neglect started to wear on me. I felt like I was being judged, like I was being accused of being a bad parent. The joy of our honeymoon was quickly fading, replaced by a growing sense of anxiety and guilt. What struck me most about the school's reaction was the underlying assumption that an 18-year-old still in high school was essentially a child. They seemed to equate being a high school student with being dependent and incapable. But this didn't align with my own experience or with what I knew about Jake. He had been demonstrating increasing independence for years. He had learned to drive, got a part-time job to earn his own money, and was responsible for his own transportation, often driving himself to school and other activities. He even helped with household chores, doing laundry, washing dishes, and occasionally cooking meals. So why was the school treating him like a child? Why were they so concerned about him being home alone for 2 weeks? The answer, I realized, lay in society's perception of adolescence and the extended period of dependency we impose on young adults. We live in a society that often infantilizes young people, even after they reach the legal age of adulthood. We prolong their dependence on their parents and the school system, often hindering their ability to develop the skills and confidence they need to navigate the real world. The school's reaction to Jake being home alone was a reflection of this societal trend. They viewed him as a student, therefore as a minor, even though he was legally an adult. This disconnect between legal adulthood and perceived adulthood creates a confusing and often contradictory message for young people. Consider the difference in how society views an 18-year-old who goes away to college versus an 18-year-old who stays home after high school. The college student is seen as independent, embarking on a new chapter in their lives. They are living in a dorm, managing their own schedules, and making their own decisions. They are treated as adults, but the 18-year-old who stays home after high school is often still seen as a child, subject to the same rules and restrictions as when they were in high school. They are still under their parents' roof, still subject to their parents' rules, and often still treated as children. This discrepancy in perception is a clear indication of how our society struggles to define and recognize adulthood. We celebrate the independence of college students, but we often fail to recognize the independence of those who choose a different path. The school's concern for Jake's well-being was, in a way, a reflection of this societal confusion. They were so used to seeing high school students as dependents that they couldn't fathom the idea of an 18-year-old being truly independent, even for a short period. While I was initially frustrated by the school's reaction, their concerns did plant a seed of doubt in my mind. Had I been too quick to assume Jake's readiness for independence? Had I overlooked some crucial aspects of his development? I started to reflect on my own parenting. Amidst this internal debate, something happened that amplified my anxieties. Jake called me one evening, his voice noticeably strained. He told me that someone had knocked on the door late at night. When he looked through the peephole, he didn't see anyone. A few minutes later, the knocking started again, more insistent this time. He was unnerved and didn't know what to do. My heart pounded in my chest. Suddenly, all my carefully constructed arguments about his independence seemed flimsy and inadequate. What if something truly dangerous had happened? What if he was in real trouble? Had I been reckless in leaving him alone? In that moment, the weight of responsibility crashed down on me. I was thousands of miles away, unable to protect him, unable to offer anything but words of comfort over the phone. The school's concerns, which I had previously dismissed, now echoed in my mind with a chilling resonance. I stayed on the phone with Jake as he cautiously checked the house. Every creak and groan of the old house amplified my fear. Thankfully, it turned out to be a false alarm. It was just a late-night package delivery, a harmless misunderstanding. But the incident shook me to my core. The fear I felt in those few minutes was visceral and overwhelming. It was the fear of every parent who has ever worried about their child's safety. It made me realize that even though Jake was legally an adult, he was still my child, and I would always worry about him. The incident also made me understand the school's perspective in a new light. They weren't just being bureaucratic or overprotective. They were acting out of concern for his safety, a concern that I now shared. They saw him as a student, as a vulnerable young person, and they wanted to ensure that he was protected. School's reaction and my own fear weren't just about Jake. They were a reflection of a broader societal dilemma, our struggle to reconcile the legal definition of adulthood with the emotional reality of letting go. We live in a culture that simultaneously celebrates independence and fosters dependence. We tell young adults they need to be self-reliant, but we often shield them from the very experiences that would equip them with the skills and resilience they need to thrive. We see this contradiction play out in various aspects of our culture. We encourage young people to go to college, often far from home, but we hesitate to give them the same level of autonomy if they choose to stay home after high school. We expect them to get jobs and manage their finances, but we often micromanage their lives and make decisions for them. This inconsistency creates a confusing and often frustrating experience for young adults. They are caught between the desire for independence and the comfort of dependence. They are told they are adults, but they are often treated like children. The school's reaction to Jake being home alone was a microcosm of this larger societal trend. They were so accustomed to seeing high school students as dependents that they couldn't easily shift their perspective, even when faced with the reality of his legal adulthood. My experience with Jake and the school made me realize that preparing young adults for independence is a complex and nuanced process. It's not just about reaching a certain age or graduating from high school. It's about developing the skills, the confidence, and the resilience to navigate the challenges of adulthood. This process starts long before a young person turns 18. It begins with fostering a sense of responsibility, encouraging self-reliance, and providing opportunities for growth and learning. It involves allowing young people to make mistakes, to learn from their experiences, and to develop their own problem-solving skills. As parents, we play a crucial role in this process. We need to find the right balance between providing support and allowing our children to take risks and learn from their mistakes. We need to resist the urge to overprotect them and instead empower them to become independent individuals. Schools also play a vital role in preparing young adults for independence. They can provide opportunities for students to develop essential life skills such as financial literacy, time management, and problem solving. They can also create a supportive environment where students can explore their interests, develop their talents, and build their confidence. Communities also have a responsibility to support young adults as they transition into adulthood. They can provide access to resources such as job training programs, mentorship opportunities, and affordable housing. They can also create a sense of belonging and connection, which is essential for young adults as they navigate the challenges of independence. When we returned from our honeymoon, Jake was fine. He had managed the 2 weeks without any major incidents. He had even handled a few unexpected challenges, such as a leaky faucet and a minor electrical issue. He told me that he felt more confident and capable, like he had proven something to himself. I was proud of him, but I was also grateful for the experience. It had forced me to confront my own assumptions about independence and to reevaluate my parenting approach. I realized that I had been so focused on protecting him that I had inadvertently hindered his development in some ways. The incident with the late night knocking was a wake-up call. It made me realize that even though he was 18, he still needed my support and guidance. It also made me understand the school's perspective and appreciate their concern for his well-being. The experience also taught me that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to parenting young adults. Every young person is different, and they all develop at their own pace. As parents, we need to be flexible and adaptable, adjusting our approach as our children grow and mature. The journey to independence is not a destination. It's a continuous process. It's something that young adults work on throughout their lives, learning, growing, and adapting to new challenges. As parents, we need to be there to support them on this journey, offering guidance, encouragement, and unconditional love. We also need to recognize that letting go is a part of parenting. It's not easy to watch our children step out into the world on their own, but it's a necessary step in their development. We need to trust that we have prepared them well, that they have the skills and the resilience to navigate the challenges that lie ahead. The experience with Jake in the school taught me that society also has a role to play in supporting young adults. We need to create a culture that values independence, that provides opportunities for growth and learning, and that supports young people as they transition into adulthood. This means challenging the stereotypes and assumptions that often hold young adults back. It means recognizing their potential and empowering them to become independent, responsible, and contributing members of society. In the end, I realized that the greatest gift I could give my son was the gift of independence. It was the ability to make his own decisions, to learn from his mistakes, and to create his own path in life. It was the confidence to face the world on his own terms, and the resilience to overcome the inevitable challenges that come with adulthood. The journey to independence is not always easy. There will be bumps along the road, moments of doubt, and times when we question our own judgment. But it's a journey worth taking. It's a journey that leads to growth, to self-discovery, and to the fulfillment of our potential. So, to answer the question that started this whole story, should an 18-year-old be left alone for 2 weeks? The answer, like most things in life, is not a simple yes or no. It depends on the individual, the circumstances, and the level of preparation. But more importantly, it depends on our willingness to trust young adults, to empower them, and to give them the space to grow into independent individuals, and it depends on our commitment as a society to support them on that journey. The debate surrounding Jake's situation highlighted a crucial point. Maturity isn't solely determined by chronological age. While 18 is the legal threshold for adulthood, the reality is far more complex. Maturity is a multifaceted process influenced by a combination of factors, including genetics, environment, upbringing, and individual experiences. Some individuals may exhibit greater maturity at 16 than others do at 20. To treat all 18-year-olds as a homogeneous group equally capable of independent living is a gross oversimplification. Jake's case exemplified this. While he possessed certain skills and responsibilities, the school's concern stemmed not just from his age, but also from the context of his life. He was still in high school, a structured environment that provides a safety net and a framework for daily life. Leaving that structure behind, even temporarily, presented a different set of challenges. The school's concern, while perhaps misplaced, reflected a recognition of this nuance. The extended period of adolescence in modern society contributes significantly to the confusion surrounding young adult independence. Compared to previous generations, today's young people often experience a prolonged period of dependence, both financially and emotionally. This is due to various factors, including the increasing cost of education, the complexities of the modern job market, and shifting cultural norms. And this extended adolescence can create a disconnect between legal adulthood and practical readiness. Young adults may be legally recognized as adults, but they may lack the real-world experience and skills necessary to fully navigate independent living. This can lead to a sense of frustration and confusion, both for the young adults themselves and for the adults around them. The school's reaction to Jake's situation can be seen as a symptom of this modern dilemma. They were grappling with the tension between his legal status and his perceived level of maturity and preparedness. Their concern, while perhaps heavy-handed, reflected a genuine desire to protect him from potential harm. The story of Jake and his school underscores the importance of community involvement in supporting young adults. Preparing young people for independence is not solely the responsibility of parents or schools. It's a shared responsibility that requires the collective effort of the entire community. Communities can play a vital role by providing resources and opportunities for young adults to develop essential life skills. This can include offering job training programs, financial literacy workshops, mentorship opportunities, and access to affordable housing. Communities can also create a supportive environment where young adults feel connected and valued, reducing the sense of isolation that can often accompany independent living. The school's reaction, while initially perceived as intrusive, ultimately highlighted the community's role in ensuring the well-being of its young members. Their concern, even if misdirected, stemmed from a sense of responsibility for Jake's safety and success. Beneath the surface of the school's official concerns, there were likely other unspoken fears at play. They may have worried about potential legal liabilities should something untoward happen to Jake while he was home alone. They may have also been concerned about setting a precedent, fearing that other students might attempt similar arrangements without adequate preparation. These unspoken fears, while understandable, further complicate the issue of young adult independence. They can lead to overly cautious and restrictive policies that ultimately hinder the development of self-reliance and responsibility. One of the most significant lessons I learned from this experience was the importance of trust. Trusting young adults to make responsible decisions, even when it's scary, is essential for their growth and development. It's a leap of faith, but it's a leap that parents and communities need to take. Trusting Jake to manage on his own, despite my own anxieties and the school's concerns, ultimately proved to be a positive experience for him. It gave him a sense of accomplishment and boosted his confidence in his own abilities. It also strengthened our relationship, as he felt that I respected his independence and trusted his judgment. As children transition into young adulthood, the parent-child dynamic undergoes a significant transformation. Parents must shift from a role of protector and provider to a role of mentor and advisor. This transition can be challenging as it requires letting go of old patterns of behavior and embracing a new level of autonomy for young adults. My experience with Jake and the school highlighted the complexities of this transition. I had to confront my own desire to protect him and learn to trust his ability to make responsible choices. It was a process that required a shift in my own thinking and a willingness to let go. Open and honest communication is crucial for navigating the transition to young adulthood. Parents and young adults need to be able to talk openly about their fears, concerns, and expectations. This can help bridge the gap between generations and foster a greater understanding of each other's perspectives. My conversations with Jake, both before and after the honeymoon, were essential for navigating this challenging period. They allowed me to understand his perspective and to address his concerns. They also gave him a safe space to express his own anxieties and ask for guidance. One of the most important lessons I learned was the value of failure. Allowing young adults to make mistakes and experience the consequences of their actions is a crucial part of their development. It's through these experiences that they learn to problem solve, to adapt, and to build resilience. The incident with the late-night knocking, while frightening, ultimately provided Jake with an opportunity to learn and grow. It forced him to confront his own fears and to develop strategies for handling unexpected situations. It was a valuable learning experience that ultimately strengthened his sense of independence. The conversation about young adult independence is an ongoing one. It's a dialogue that needs to continue between parents, educators, communities, and young adults themselves. It's a conversation that needs to evolve as society changes and as young people face new challenges. My hope is that this story will contribute to that conversation, sparking further discussion and reflection on the complex issues surrounding young adult independence. It's a conversation that's essential for creating a society that supports and empowers the next generation. As we move forward, it's important to envision a future where young adults are empowered to thrive, a future where they have the skills, the resources, and the support they need to navigate the challenges of independence, a future where they are trusted and valued for their contributions to society. This vision requires a collective effort. It requires parents to trust their children, educators to prepare their students, communities to support their young members, and young adults to embrace their potential. It's a vision that's within our reach, but it requires a commitment to change and a willingness to work together.